Just my desktop. Okay, guys. So here's our plan for today as far as the chopstick wrapper project goes. I have a number of examples of our upcoming project here for us to look at, and I'm also going to pass out some hard copies of the project as well. But I have them in pairs here, as you can see, where I have like the front and the back, front and back. So let's slowly look through these, and I want you to think to yourself, like, what are some of the things we see in common with all of these chopstick wrappers? Then I want you to think about what do they have in common from their front to their back. So I'm going to leave like 2 on the screen like that. And I'm also going to pass out some hard copies that I have from like years and years, collections of them. So some of them still may even have like a grade on there, but the assignment has changed over the years, so don't really get too hung up on the grade. And you can look at like your neighbor's wrapper too. Swap them. So let's reiterate. Think about what all these wrappers, like what traits. Oh, you know what? That's it. What traits do you see on each chopstick wrapper, and what do they have in common from front to back? Okay, let's answer the question now that we've got an example ourselves. So, when we look at all these different covers, what do we see in common across all of the chopstick wrappers? They're rectangular. That's a fantastic way to start. They're pretty much rectangular for the most part. They're without a few little details for different openings, or maybe like this one at the top that is more of an oval shape. They're about the same size. So that's a fair assessment. What else? They don't have chopsticks in them. That's excellent. And I have one here where I put it inside. So I have a sample here too we could look at. What else do we have in common? What about like content wise? What are we seeing in common? Countries. Okay, so a lot of times they may reference a specific country or a location. What else? Most of them have color. They aren't like monochromatic. Excellent. Good. I think that's a great place to start. Let's talk about what we see in common. What connects the front of a cover to the back of it? Is your front and your back exactly the same? No. Okay, good. So none of these are exactly the same. For example, for this one here with the wave, what connects the front of it to the back of it? What makes it look related? The wave itself. Why?
It's like split so that if you were to put them on top of each other and make one face up.
Exactly. So I took this, I just photographed the front and I flipped it and I photographed the back. So when you make your actual cover, you'll start with a piece of paper that's folded anyway. So they basically took one piece of paper, drew the design, and folded it. Good. Like on this one with the wave, like what are some other things that are in common on the front and the back that gives me the connection that they belong together? Go ahead, Kyle. Color scheme, definitely. Good. You have that same blue scheme. What else? What else is similar? How about the style of the wave? I mean, you could have a wave on the front and you could have a wave on the back, but if they don't look the same, they're probably not going to feel related, right? So we want to keep that same kind of like stylistic elements from the front to the back similar as well. So you'll also notice that some designs are much more like image based and some are much more like text based. So it's up to you which route you're going to take with your project as well. If you really like to draw, go to town and draw a lot for this project, and that's fine. You don't have to focus as much on the text. But perhaps you're more not really into the drawing thing and you want to make it all about your text. Then by all means, you can focus on your text. Okay. Any questions so far about that? Okay, cool. So let's talk about the project outline. So here's our plan for this week. Generally we work on it for like 1 week. We're going to design a chopstick wrapper for any kind of restaurant, food facility. So if you wanted to do like ShopRite or something, of your choice. So sometimes there's a few ways to approach this. Some students come up to me and are like, I have no idea like what restaurant I should do. So you could use one of my 2 suggestions here. So you could try and pick up like this type of cuisine. So number one, you could do like a contemporary and trendy fusion restaurant. So when we talk about fusion, do you know what I mean by like fusion cuisines?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Like Asian food.
Okay, and so we're talking fusion, what cuisines or do we mean if we're talking about Asian fusion?
Like different countries.
Good, good. So we're talking about like perhaps if we're going to an Asian fusion restaurant, it's not just going to be Japanese cuisine. It may have Japanese, Chinese, Korean, etc. So when we talk about fusion, we're talking about 2 different cuisines together. I've even had students do like sushis and tacos. Like you could do something like that. And I chose something really contemporary and modern since I think fusion's pretty contemporary. Another option is just like your traditional sushi restaurant. Your very traditional, very ornate, probably involves red and elements like that. You could follow that route as well. Or come up with your own idea. It doesn't have to be like that. You could just Google a random restaurant. You could like make a chopstick wrapper for like ShopRite. It's up to you which you want to do. Cheesecake Factory, whatever. The only rule is that you can't use their logo. You're going to come up with your own. Questions about that? All right, let's keep rolling. So we have 2 kind of routes we could take. Like I said, you love to draw? Then make it design based. Make it mostly images and just make sure it has the name of your restaurant facility on there. Don't like to draw? No problem. You could focus on text and you're allowed to like copy fonts from the internet. That I'm allowing. But we don't want to copy like copyrighted things like SpongeBob or the ShopRite logo or things like that. So, like we said before, we're going to use both sides of the wrapper. They need to look related, but they shouldn't be exactly the same. Everything's original. We can use the fonts on the internet. We could change the shape somewhat. And if guys, listen up please. If you're going to like write something in a foreign language, you just have to include like the English subtext underneath it. That's all. It's going to be worth 40 points, and we'll have a reflection that's going to go with it as well. So day 1, what I like to do is just take like some scrap paper. You can tell it's scrap because it's got this like rip on it. And we're just going to start planning out the design. So what I want you to have today before you leave is to decide like, hey, what restaurant am I going to do? Maybe start picking out a font and some images you want to place on your design. So before you leave today, you want to have your sketch ready to go. And I can also give you a final copy piece of paper, which is also up here if you want to like have the physical same size. But we at least want to have a restaurant cuisine decided on today before you leave. That would be a great thing to write on here. Okay. Questions so far?